welcome to season 2 of On the Spot. At On the Spot, we discuss the issues. There's this very famous saying, want to hide anything from an African? Put it in a book. Well, this is so true, not just for Africans, but many young people across the world. At a time when the culture of reading is greatly dwindling and the prospects of writing amongst young people also shrinking. This is so true as social media and mobile devices continue to take over our lives. But with more African writers gaining global recognition and writers like Chimamanda Adichie and our very own Aminata Fowler, who have won the Commonwealth Prize for her second novel, The Memory of Love, making it like a very cool thing and fun to be a writer. Many young people are now getting inspired to pick up the pen and write. My guest is a graduate of law from the Frobe College, University of Sierra Leone, who started writing at an early age, well, a very early age. She is a published author who had her first book published in June 2020 at the age of 22, titled Girls Planet, a book on teenage pregnancy. She's the owner and editor of Naffie magazine, an online magazine providing freelance writing services and a platform for budding female writers. She's the founder of Emerald Leadership Initiative African Network and Strong Girls Evolution, which promotes personal development and networking among young female Sierra Leoneans. She is an advocate and a public speaker. Tonight, I'll be talking about writing with my guests and leaving the aspect of reading for another episode. If you have never met my guest, meet her tonight. She's Naffie Mustapha, and she is the coolest writer in the block. Well, welcome to the show, Naffie. It's good to have you on the show.
I feel so excited to be here.
Wow. Okay, so where are we going to start this conversation from? We're going to start with little Naffie. Let's talk about how childhood was for you. What sort of family were you born into? How was it growing up for you as a child?
Well, I grew up in Bo.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I was born in Freetown, but at age 1, my family had to relocate to Kenema.
Okay.
They spent some time in Kenema. I think I was about 2 when they moved to Bo.
Okay.
So I did my nursery in Bo, I did my primary school in Bo, and my junior secondary school in Bo.
Okay.
I relocated to Freetown at age 15. For me, growing up was fun as we grew up in a rural setting. I used to play a lot.
Don't we all?
Yeah.
Weren't we all?
A lot of outdoor plays. And I grew up in a home where my mom was educated and she was a working mother. And my dad too was educated. I grew up in a home where my mom got us to read a lot. Yeah, because she was the type of mother that was always working. So in order to prevent us from disturbing her, she got us interested in books. Yeah, she'll give us story books, make the book so interesting that we automatically got attracted to reading. Yeah. As a little girl, I fell in love with writing. I can trace my writing to age 10 years. I used to have 80 pages books where I used to write my stories. Wow. After writing my stories, I used to disturb my mom to edit. She'll take my book, tell me that she'll edit. That was the end.
And that's where it always ended.
Yeah.
Okay.
I've tormented her a lot. I always told myself that I one day have a published book. Yeah. At that tender age. So like I said, growing up was fun and I was this pushy type of girl. I always went after what I wanted, even as a little girl. But I didn't know how my future was going to be. Like, I had all these ideas. Oh, I wanted to become a writer. I wanted to become a lawyer. I wanted to become this, that, yeah. But the home that I grew up in helped motivate me a lot, because as a little girl, my mom introduced me to reading. My dad was encouraging. He used to have open conversations with me, asking about my views on certain things. So he got me to communicate what I thought about things. So instead of sitting down silently, my dad always wanted me to have an opinion. I didn't know they were doing me good at the time. I was just a little girl, but that foundation helped build me up a lot.
So it was clearly very integral in your in you nurturing that passion of writing. Can we safely say that your passion for writing was actually born out of the encouragement you got from your family, especially your mom, who used to sit you down and read and just sort of encourage you to read?
Yeah.
So where did it move beyond just reading to now writing?
Like
How?
at age 10, like
How?
after reading the exciting stories, I started having stories in my head, and I wanted to write those stories. Like, you have all these imaginations, all these scenes in your head, and you want to portray them. So I started having stories in my head. That's how I developed that habit. Whenever I'm quiet, I'll start thinking about things, stories coming up. So my creativity started at that tender age.
And this was about 10 years.
Yeah.
Okay. So you started writing and you tried to get your mom to be your editor, which didn't work. How did that progress for you? Moving from at 10 years old, you must have been in primary school.
Yeah, I was in class 5.
Class 5. How was it moving on to secondary school and moving on with that passion of writing?
Well, it kind of continued. I remember when I was in JSS1, I wrote a book, gave the notebook to my aunt to type. I never saw the book again. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So when I started writing, I started with stories. But along the way, I started writing poems back in SSS years. Moving on, I started writing speeches, and then my elder sister spoke about research, and I got interested in research, and I started writing articles. So it was like I was finding my way from here to there.
And this was when you were still in high school?
Yes.
Wonderful, wonderful. So clearly, this continued right on through high school. Did your school or teachers identify this sort of passion of yours, and what sort of support did it provide for you to push you forward?
Well, one of my favorite teachers, Mr. Senesi, at the Annie Walsh Memorial School, we kind of formed a bond based on my passion for writing. Yes. At the time, he was not my teacher. I was in SSS1, and I had just started attending the Annie Walsh Memorial School. And he was a literature teacher, but he was not teaching me. So I wrote this poem that I wanted him to edit. He didn't know me. I walked up to him and I told him that I've written this. Please edit for me. That was how we formed a relationship. And he was so supportive. Then I moved to SSS2 and he started teaching me. He was so interested in my writing skills. He always motivated me, told me to do more. When we used to study those poems or those literary texts in school, he'll ask me about my opinions, what I thought about certain things, and he wanted me to unleash all that I possessed in me. So he was very supportive. And I also had my other teacher, Mr. Fode, JJ Fode. He's now a lawyer, yes. And I also had Ali Fona. I remember back in SSS2, we sat to an examination and I did some literary interpretations. And after marking my paper, he went on to show the other teachers that because the way I interpreted the entire thing seemed too deep for a school student, for someone in senior secondary school. So he praised me so much, telling me to continue writing, to follow my passion. I think the same thing happened when I was in class 5 or class 4. They asked us to write about our boss teacher then, because back in Boa, our school was located at Toama SOS, and it was far off from where we used to stay. So we had this school bus. So after writing about the boss teacher, my teacher then called my mom, telling her that what I wrote was quite creative and it was deep again. So I guess my teachers always identified my writing skills and they were always very supportive.
Very supportive. Okay. I'm going to hold you there. This is On the Spot, and with me is Eunice Naffie Mustapha, the coolest writer in the blog. We'll be back.
Domestic revenue mobilization is a key instrument for the government of Sierra Leone in reducing poverty, increasing financial independence, achieving middle income status, and charting the path for new directions. From supporting the free quality education, good roads, healthcare, electricity, and more.
Domestic revenue mobilization is very critical when it comes to national development.
Through the Asikoda World, we have developed beautiful management tools. We have also developed systems in which it will bring transparency and help to the importer, to the broker.
iTax is a platform for all your domestic taxes. The electronic cash register system is the game changer.
Let's support government by paying our taxes. For more information, visit the nearest NRA office or log on to our website www.nra.gov.sl.
All right, welcome back. So Eunice, before we went on the break, you just sort of shared with us the very, I would say, lively childhood you had, and a very supportive one. How did that sort of play into your role as a young woman who grew up to have a voice, a very strong voice, that you're supporting other young women like yourself? How did that sort of nurture that voice for you?
For me, my parents played a great role. Like I mentioned, my dad was always supportive, asking for my opinion on practically everything. Even when I did something wrong, he wanted to know why I did it and what I thought about what I did. I guess that motivated me to always speak up, to express things that I'm not okay with, and to always express my opinions. So he found a way to get my voice out. Even though I lost him at age 10, before age 10, he had already achieved that, getting me to speak up. He didn't want a silent daughter. He wanted one that was sound. And that alone helped me a lot, because now I feel comfortable expressing my opinions. And I always think about him like, okay, what will my dad say? Yes. And my mom, being supportive, always motivating me to follow my dreams, even though she never gave me back my books, inspired me a lot, because sometimes I sit and think, can you do this? And I say, okay, you can do this, because you've always wanted to be a writer as a little girl, and look where you are now. I'm not there yet, but I quite appreciate where I am now. So that's inspiration. Then I look at my teachers. They could have ignored me. They could have saw me like just another pupil. But they always found a way to identify my talent. And they didn't just identify, they always took interest in building that talent. Like
And you've gone far as well to inspire other young ladies like yourself, and you did create you founded two organizations, Emerald Leadership Initiative, African Network, and Strong Girls Evolution. Take us through on why you had to start those organizations and what work you do in supporting women through those foundations.
with organizations, I started off with Children's Forum Network at the Annie Walsh Memorial School. After CFN, I was like, what's next, Naffie? You're no longer a child. Are you just going to forget about advocacy, or are you going to continue doing what you love? Il Africa actually came like a surprise. It was a surprise. It was not something planned throughout the years. I was part of an organization that I was not okay with, but I was still passionate. After CFN, I moved on to another organization, but I was not okay in that organization. I was not okay with the principles there, and I wanted something more. So I moved on with my colleagues to form Emerald Leadership Initiative African Network. It was all about creating a leadership platform for young Sierra Leoneans, creating the change we wanted to see. So it was like a nurturing ground for young Sierra Leoneans.
And how do you do that in the organization?
We had our meetings. Oh, those meetings were more than the House of Parliament. We used to argue a lot, expressing our opinions. We used to disagree a lot, but at the same time, we were united by a common force, the desire to create a change. And we used to do outreaches, we used to go to schools, we used to go to communities, and we even had this school initiative that we implemented, the Eli Girls Network, where we had school branches and we had mentors assigned to those school branches. And at that Emerald Leadership Initiative African Network, we had so many great minds. For me, when I started with the entire youth focus initiative. Moving on, I then decided to assess myself. Okay, you've started with this all, but you cannot do all at a start. You need to redefine your goals. You need to narrow things. You need to have a focus. Then I dug deep, and I had to look at my inner self, what I was more passionate about. Then I said, personal development of young female Sierra Leoneans. I had to graduate to Strong Girls Evolution, yes. So Strong Girls Evolution is basically a platform of young ladies that are interested in personal development. We believe that we are no longer the future, we are the now. Yeah. In order for us to work together, we need to start working together now, because mostly we see empowered women having tussles here and there, and the ability to work together is quite difficult. So we decided to form the entity to start putting our differences aside, to start working together, even though we don't meet on different things. We have different views on things, but to be able to work even with our differences. We had our first event, which was the Strong Girls Evolution Night, where we had various speakers address issues ranging from self-esteem to confidence and other areas. And we also had our Shillionaires Club this past January. She plus millionaires, so we had our Shillionaires. We were so focused on making our own money. We are starting off our journey yet. So believe in financial independence. So we had various speakers, inclusive of Miss Mariam Koroma, who is a lawyer. She spoke to us about being productive, disciplined, and we had other speakers talking about business. We had another telling us about financial literacy. So Strong Girls Evolution is all about personal development.
And when did you start the Strong Girls evolution?
In 2019, at the time I was running for the Student Union presidency.
So how did that sort of influence your bid for the presidency of the Student Union?
I contested before. I was on the process. I contested before starting the Strong Girls Revolution. And for me, that election actually inspired me in a way to start Strong Girls Revolution. It was like a male-dominated space, so many fights, and I realized that we need more females on board.
And you were the only female contestant
Yes.
in that 2019 election. I'll hold you here. This is On the Spot. We'll take a break. We'll be back.
Domestic revenue mobilization is a key instrument for the government of Sierra Leone in reducing poverty, increasing financial independence, achieving middle income status, and charting the path for new directions. From supporting the free quality education, good roads, healthcare, electricity, and more.
Domestic revenue mobilization is very critical when it comes to national development.
Through the Asikoda World, we have developed beautiful management tools. We have also developed systems in which it will bring transparency and help to the importer, to the broker.
iTax is a platform for all your domestic taxes. The electronic cash register system is the game changer.
Let's support government by paying our taxes. For more information, visit the nearest NRA office or log on to our website www.nra.gov.sl.
All right, welcome back. I still have with me here the coolest writer in the block, Eunice Naffie Mustapha. So we left off on you, your bid for the Student Union president. And what was it that inspired you to go forward for that position?
I wanted to break the glass ceiling.
Okay.
Yeah. For several years, we had male president, and before me, 2 other females had contested. But but everything had ended futile. So I wanted to make a difference. I wanted to break the glass ceiling, and I wanted to champion issues concerning students. I believe that in as much as we have different genders, what a man can do, a woman can also do. I believe that our mental capacities are the same, and we have the ability to create the same impact or probably create better impact. So I had that fire in me to break the glass ceiling and to make a difference.
So in this desire to make a difference, how much of your writing influence you as a woman, a young woman, or you as a woman in terms of who you are? How much of that influence your writing? Do you understand? Is it the writing that influence who you are becoming, or is it who you are becoming influencing what you're writing, the voice that you're projecting out to people?
For me, it's who I'm becoming, because as a young girl, I used to struggle with talking. I used to stammer a lot. I think it was about age 11 or so that I started flowing properly. Yeah. So for me, writing is a way of expressing what I feel within. The more I grow, the more I release things. The more I undergo inner growth, then you'll see my writing improving. So if you read the things that I write, they are quite emotional. Mostly I write as if I'm talking to someone directly, because that's just me. That's how I communicate. When I'm not okay with something, I release. When I want to create an impact, I release. When I want to take any stage, or after taking a particular stage in my life, and I believe that that information is quite important to others, I release. If I'm thinking about something that I think will help me grow and will help others grow, I release. So my personality influences my writing. It's like my voice.
Your personality, how much of your experience, lived experience, is being captured in your writing?
Most of a lot. Let's say 80%. Yeah. Because when it comes to the quotations that I do, they are based on things that I have experienced. When it comes to advices that I give out, they are based on what I have experienced. When it comes to a book that I've written, even though some of the things there are fictional, I have certain things that were based on high school experience.
Exactly, and this is where we come to your first published book. First of all, congratulations. This book was published in 2020, July 2020. I hope I have it right.
Yeah, 2020.
July.
2020.
June, okay. But this process started way before. You started writing this book in 2018.
Yes.
Why did you decide to write a book on teenage pregnancy?
For me, writing about teenage pregnancy was quite personal. One of the things that influenced my writing about teenage pregnancy was based on my experiences. Coming up, I always had this passion for advocacy. And having become the president of Children's Forum Network at my school branch, I always had the opportunity to engage my fellow pupils frequently on weekly basis doing CFN hour. So teenage pregnancy was one of the issues that we used to advocate against. We usually say we need an army of powerful women. If we need an army of powerful women, we have to look at the foundation. What are the hurdles preventing women from becoming empowered? What are the hurdles standing in the way of the growth of women? Then we have to look at issues. In as much as we now have the opportunity for pregnant girls to return to school after becoming pregnant, this was not the case always. Then we have to look at circumstances. How many people can cope? So instead of providing a cure for a problem, it's nice to provide preventive measures. And there are different ways to advocate. Some people, you can talk to them in a very serious manner and you can capture them. But for some people, you have to make experiences fun. Even when you are talking to them, you have to make it to be so exciting that they will be learning without actually realizing that they are learning. And I like to reach out to people in different ways. And I can't go everywhere in Sierra Leone, but when you write a book can move. Like my book went to Binti, and one of my teachers at the Annual Memorial School, who is now at Binti, saw the book and he called me. Yes, I've seen your book right at Binti. So just say. Wow. So this is another way to advocate. Then another thing that I looked at is the stigmatization. Back in school in SSS 3 2015 years, after receiving my orange belt then, I was at the canteen one day buying food and one girl just walked up talking to her friend. That girl that they've given an orange belt was raped during the Ebola outbreak. She got pregnant. Then they are now hiding the child. Yeah. So I was so mad that I went to Mr.
And this was in reference to you?
Yes. So I was so mad that I went to Mr. Senesi, our teacher then, Mr. Senesi that I mentioned. And I told him, and he was like, it's okay, that's just the way girls are. But it did not stop there. When I became the head girl of the Annie Walsh Memorial School in 2016, then it started again. The same story of being raped. And just imagine the stigmatization at that time.
Was this true?
And just imagine...
Was it true?
No, it was all false. But just imagine the stigmatization at the time that you are trying to take a step and people are throwing stone at that particular age with the truth not even being figured out. At the time I was mad, but now I actually appreciate that experience, yes. Because at that particular age, I learned to deal with stones very early, that any stage that you take in your life, any step that you take in your life, they are always going to be, even though there will be joy, excitement, there are always going to be people who try to change that to something negative. So if I hadn't had that experience at that age, I wouldn't have been so tough. My back wouldn't have been so broad to be able to stop certain things. So writing about teenage pregnancy was a way of relating to people who actually went through that experience. For me, it was a fictional story. It was all about throwing stones here and there. What if there is an actual girl out there? What if there is an actual girl that got penetrated? What if she actually had a baby? What if there are girls out there that weren't penetrated, they had, or even though girls can't consent to sex, what if it wasn't a story of rape? It was willing sex based on bad decisions, yes. So what if they have to undergo that stigmatization? That when it's real, it's quite different. The one that is fake, it's had so much effect. So I had to write about teenage pregnancy, that I have to communicate, provide guidance for girls, provide ways that girls can overcome teenage pregnancy. And if you read Girls' Planet, it starts with Genesis and it ends with Revelation. And it has the whole high school setting, talking about the influence of social media, looking at peer pressure. Then I also looked at the unwilling aspect, the one that has to do with child marriage. Then I spoke about child penetration. Then I spoke about the inadequate access to sexual and reproductive health education. So I wanted something conclusive, something girls could read and relate to, something parents and guardians could read and relate to, for them to know how to handle certain things better. Something even advocates could read and say, okay, we need to focus on A or B or C.
And almost a year later, how's the reception been for the book, especially for the young girls who are the main targets of this book? I can just show people, this is the book. So how has the reception been from the young girls? What has been the feedback?
It's like the book is relatable. Yeah, I remember I had a reading series back in February, just before Valentine's Day, because there's a chapter in the book that talks about Valentine, it's called Valentino. So I had these reading sessions with girls from Transformative Women's Initiative. They have this girls hub, Transformative Girls Initiative. We had a reading session, and since it was just before Valentine, I chose to read the chapter about Valentine. After reading the book, they were like, things like that. Like, they find it so relatable, bringing up the choices that they have to make, the daily choices, bringing up the type of conversations that they have, the way they think, like, it's like going into the minds of young girls. So when they read the book, they're like, Naffie, it's too, yeah, things like that. So I feel so happy that young girls can read the book and they can actually relate to the book, knowing that certain emotions that they have are not weird. It's like, it's natural. Yeah. Certain conversations shouldn't be like taboos. Like, the book is all about telling them that this is normal. It's all part of growing up. So I feel so excited when usually a girl will walk up to me, I read your book, I love your book, I'm going to borrow my friend your book, things like that.
And you started this journey of writing this book in 2018.
And completed it, actually.
And completed it in 2018, but never got published until 2020. What was the journey like for you to getting this book published?
After writing the book, it was so difficult. Then I got to acknowledge why my mom always edited and never gave me back my book. So after writing Girls' Planet, it was not just, I thought, okay, I'll write my book. after writing it, to publish was the biggest problem. So my struggle was just like the struggle of most young Sierra Leoneans who are talented. They have the talent, they try to bring out the talent, but after bringing out the talent, what's next? That's always the big question. So you have two options. So either go about your daily life and just forget about the talent. Like, okay, I possess this and it's okay, it's part of me. Or to actually think about beating all odds to make things happen. After writing the book in 2018, the first struggle was to get an editor. I didn't go to my mom again. I had outgrown. Yes, I had outgrown my mom. So I reached out to someone. At first, I reached out to different people, and they were abusing, and then I couldn't understand. But now I can understand. Like, people, adults have so many things to do, so many struggles. So when you reach out to them and they cannot help, it's okay because of their schedules. I finally found someone that wasn't able to help, but he knew someone who was willing to help. So he connected me with Miss Sophie Aliu, who was so excited that a young girl wanted to publish a book. So she edited my book for free. After editing the book, I thought, okay, I now have an edited book. My problems were over, but it was just the start of my problem, yes. So the next thing was how I was going to publish my book. I had the document till 2019 when I just started going out and doing research on how to publish. So I saw this publishing house and I reached out to them. Then they told me that I was to pay a specific sum, and I was like, I didn't have the sum. So I negotiated with them as if I had something laid aside. Wow. We negotiated over and over again, and there was this sum that seemed like I could find a way to get it. So I went in for it, and I had to pay by installments. The first installment was about $250. I didn't have the money. Then I went out and asked someone. I didn't even know how I was going to pay. Give me this money. I'm going to pay for my book. After sending the book, I'll pay you. So the person gave me the money, and I did the first installment. At the time, I was also working on certain projects. After making the first installment, that was the end of it. I never made another installment. So I forgot about the book and went about my daily life. In 2020, I'm part of this, not even part of one Facebook group. I have several Facebook groups. Whenever I see the word entrepreneur, I just join. So in one of those groups, one woman made a post, "Oh, if you could do anything in 2020, what will you do?" And I went and commented, "Publish a book." But I was just joking. And she actually responded, "Okay, this one is serious." And she asked, "What is stopping you?" And I commented, "I have no money." And she said, "Have you checked out Amazon?" Telling me that I could publish on Amazon for free. And I was like, she said, "Yes." And I left Facebook, went to Google, and I had to Google everything. And I set up my Kindle account and published my book. After publishing the book on Kindle, I was so excited, forgetting that even myself could not get the book from Kindle. So I started telling people, "Oh, I have published my book." Then they started asking, "How are we going to read your book?" Then it clicked. Even myself could not read the book from Kindle, right, from Sierra Leone. Then I had to think, okay, now you've published your book on Kindle. How are you going to make that book available locally? Then I reached out to the same person that had recommended the editor for me. And he told me about CLC Bookshop. When he mentioned CLC Bookshop, I was shocked. It's not like I did not know CLC Bookshop. CLC Bookshop right at Circular Road. I knew that it was a bookshop to go and buy books. I never published books. Yes. And he said there is a publishing house there. So I went to CLC bookshop to inquire, and I found out that just after the bookshop, within the same building, there was a publishing house there. I told the man that I wanted to publish my book, and he told me how much I needed. At that time, unlike 2019, where there was no money, in 2020, I was so serious with my financial life since I started reading those books, Rich Dad, Poor Dad, Smart Money Woman, and the like. So I had started learning about making money, saving more.
Financially prudent.
Yes. So I had money in my account based on all those hustles, the work that I used to do. I just went to my savings, took out the money, said that, okay, this is an investment. Yeah.
And you published.
And I published my book.
So basically, you paid for the publication of this book.
Yeah.
Wow. And you were still in the university, I think your third year.
No, it was
right?
my final year.
You were in your final year at that time, 2020, last year. We'll take a break. We'll be back.
Hello?
Hello, Mr. Abu. I am calling for your rental tax payment.
Oh my goodness.
Hello? This is a call from the...
Your colleague is on the other line. Can you just please hold?
You are a landlord or property agent. You don't hear about rental income tax. As property owner or agent where they collect rent, the law say you for pay tax and you tax identification number where they call team you they use for pay am.
Yes, me fumble them. The law say without this tax identification number, you not go able to pay your tax. And if you not pay your tax, the law go bet you tranga one. Welcome, sir. Please sit.
Thank you.
We don't make them easy for you now. The law say, since you the collect rent we pass 7.2 million leons, you for come to NI and pay your rental tax just after where your tenants don't pay you down.
So no more calls from everywhere.
You go just get one SMS or one phone call. We go remind you, sir.
Thank you very much.
For no more, go to any NI office near you or visit www.nia.gov.sl.
Remember, paying taxes is required by law.
Welcome back, and we're talking about writing with my guest, Eunice Naffie Mustapha. So, you published your very first book, all from your savings, in your final year in the university. What were you doing? What other work were you doing to be able to fund the payment for this book?
First, I used to just write for fun. Then I said to myself when 2020 started, how about writing to earn?
Exactly.
Yeah. So I started writing to actually earn money out of writing. I used to reach out to entities, telling them that, okay, I could provide this, I could provide that. For my writing skills, I was not comfortable with just knowing that I could write. I had to go extra. I had to use YouTube videos. I had to read articles online to build my writing skills. And building my writing skills helped out a lot in reaching out to entities because I could confidently reach out that I can provide this, and I always delivered. I reached out so that, okay, I could manage their pages, their Facebook pages, and do other things for them. I could work on their branding because I had done a branding course with Freetown Business School. I know how to prepare a branding plan. I can help you out with your branding plan. I always found a way of creating jobs where jobs did not exist. For entities that did not have social media presence, I was like, okay, how can you be living in the 21st century without a presence online? So
literally in your final year, you were earning an income from writing. And that income from writing funded the publication of your first book.
Yeah.
And you were just 22 years old at that time. You didn't stop there. You started Naffie magazine.
Well, I kind of revived Naffie.
You revived.
Yes.
Take us through on that.
When Naffie magazine started in 2018, it was all about fun, all about showcasing the talent of young Sierra Leoneans. We had and also about showcasing beauty. We had our under 25 salon gorgeous ladies.
I wish I was under 25.
Yeah.
So I could have been featured.
So when the team started, we were mixed. We had males, we had females, and it was all about showcasing creativity. So in 2019, our website crashed, and it was the end of it for some time. Then in 2020, after I had started writing for people and actually getting money out of writing based on the quality of the work, I then said to myself, if I could do that, there were other females out there too who could do the same. So I decided to revive Naffie magazine with a team of young female writers. So I reached out to young female writers that I knew, and I also had young female writers that reached out to me. As, oh, we are seeing you writing, and do you have anything going on? So I got them together, and we had our trial group. In the group, we had weekly assignments. After each week, we had to choose the best writers for the week. Based on that group, that transit group, we could select a team. Yes, so I had to select a team from there, and we had to revive Naffie magazine, no longer as a platform for fun or just displaying creativity, but a platform for young people to use their skills to earn a living.
Is there a growing interest in writing from young people?
Yes, you have young people that are interested in writing. I think the problem is not with the interest. The problem is with the environment. Like, some people will say, okay, this particular thing, I should not focus on it in Sierra Leone because you have inadequate opportunities in Sierra Leone. It's like a cage. So the mentality is, you have to go to school, you have to go to the university, you have to get excellent grades. After getting excellent grades, when you come out of the university, you get a job. Some people feel like it's so straightforward. Yes. That's why after university, when some people do not get a job, it becomes frustrating because there is no plan B. I believe in getting excellent grades. Yes, I'm a graduate. I have my LLB honors. Like, I believe in that. Yeah. But at the same time, I believe that you should also focus on your creativity. We should stop seeing Sierra Leone as a cage. We have to start, even though there are inadequate opportunities. When we didn't have places to do our freelance writing work, what did we do? We started ours. So if there are no opportunities, just create opportunities.
But here's the interesting thing. You are one of those people who identified their passion, what they loved. And for you, writing is that passion. But you went on to the university and you went to study law.
Yeah.
So how can you relate both of them for us? You could have gone and read, I don't know, again, I don't even know if you
I should have gone
to writing or something, but you decided to read law.
No, yeah.
Why?
Because in as much as I had passion for writing, I also had passion for law. When it was time to go to the university, my mom, we had this conversation about whether I should go and do direct law or whether I should go and do something else. So I actually bought 2 forms. I went for 2 interviews and I had 2 acceptance letters. I interviewed for art and I went for law interview. Writing, you can always teach yourself, but with law, you have to go through the process. And I chose to go in for law.
Any particular reason why law?
Why law? As a little girl, I always had this vision that, okay, I'm going to become a lawyer. I'm always going to make a change where I think a change is needed. That was how it started then. Then my father would be like, oh, you'll make a good lawyer. So that's how the mentality was built. Then I went to senior school and started all this advocacy. Then the fire was there. And I was like, okay, we are going to eradicate this, we are going to, you know that when you want to create a change, you can't just be advocating for others to create the change. How can you take take active part in the process? So back in high school, I was so passionate about the entire advocacy. So that was it. Then I started doing law. When I started doing law, then the mentality, my mindset kind of expanded. First, I was that little girl, passionate about, okay, I want to become a lawyer. Then that advocate that wanted to create a change. Then when I was finally in the process, I started looking at society in general. I started looking at the loopholes that society has. And I looked at my vision and I looked at the injustice that people suffered from. Then I started thinking about other areas of the law. I started looking at business law and I was like, okay, to do law is quite important because you can be in a position to better advise yourself personally and to also advise others, because you can see people coming up, then there'll come a time they'll just get into conflicts with the law and they'll be down there. How can you help those people? How can you help ensure that those that come up will always be able to maintain that level instead of just falling like that? So the more I go, the more it becomes deeper.
And all right, I'll hold you to ask that question and take another break. Of course, this is on the spot, and I have Naffie Mustapha. And if you're not excited already as I am, and you're not blown away by the conversation, then probably we'll just have to wait when Jesus comes, and then we have the whole excitement together. But till then, we'll take a quick break, and then we'll come back and continue the conversation.
Setting up a business can be a headache. Finding office space, buying furniture, printers and photocopiers. But if you're not ready for all that, BSI can help. BSI provides furnished and serviced office spaces for the short or medium term, whether it's for a day meeting, a conference or an immediate office rental for a few months. There are no long-term cost commitments and the offices are fully equipped with all your office needs. Or we can simply provide you with a prestigious business address thanks to one of our virtual offices. Find out more about BSI, your office away from the office. Go to bsisl.com or call 076 242 328.
All right, welcome back. I still have with me here the coolest writer in the block, Naffie Mustapha. So you are creating job opportunities for other people. What would you say to those of your fellow peers that you all graduated together?
My pastor said to us, Pastor Cynthia, she said to graduates out there, don't just be looking for jobs. You can create jobs. I think they have to believe in themselves that they can do things. First, they have to dream. Then they have to set goals. Then they have to believe and they have to go after those goals. There might not be enough jobs for everyone. But what if your own journey in life is bigger? You are not destined to be out there looking for jobs. What if you are the solution to the problem that you are trying to address? So if you're out there and you're trying to find your way in life, just believe that with determination, devotion, and discipline, you are unstoppable. There might be hurdles here and there, but you always have to see the bigger picture. When you know where you want to go in life, nothing will stop you. And with God in the boat, you can achieve great things. Stop seeing Sierra Leone as a cage and start looking out for ways of creating impact. Be the change that you want to see.
Just like you are being the change that you want to see. Thank you so much. I did tell you she's the coolest writer in the block, and I'm sure she is not disappointed. Thank you so much, and we wish you all the best. Want to see more content from you. We want to read more of your books. And I did mention that one lucky person can get to, get a copy of Girls Planet And just like she says, Girls Planet is here to let you in on what happens in our girly world. This book shall serve as an eye-opener to some of the causes of teenage pregnancy. Our star in this book, Miriam, will guide you through an interesting journey. If you want to know more about this, you want to give this to your daughter, head on to our social media handles. We'll drop the information there and you can get to walk away with a copy of Girls Planet, Teenage Pregnancy by one of Sierra Leone's youngest writer, Naffie Mustapha. For someone who's thinking writing is probably not a bankable career or a profitable business, what would you say to that person?
When you are passionate about anything in life, you can be able to earn from it. When you love what you do, you are unstoppable and you'll be able to create bigger impact. So for me, anything is workable. You just have to be able to see beyond what the eye sees.
Beautiful. Wish I could have you here for a little bit longer, but we gotta run. Thank you so much for joining me here on the show. This is On the Spot, and that's my guest, the coolest writer in the blog, Naffie Mustapha. Coming up next are my final words. In my final words, my guest makes writing not only cool, but a potentially profitable business and career. As the world continues to evolve and advance, many new career paths are either forged or redefined, just as a number of jobs become obsolete. Parents are encouraged to nurture their children's passions and talents. And if your child finds keen interest in something or can perform a particular thing well, please do encourage them, as that may be their calling in life. Not everyone is cut out to be a doctor or a lawyer or an accountant. As the world becomes more of a global village, the chances of your child succeeding and even gaining global attention is even greater when they love what they do and do what they love. I encourage every young person to pursue their dreams and make it work by honing their skills through constant personal development. The road to success is diverse and thus is not only defined or guaranteed through the attainment of a degree. It is just a stepping stone to push you to success. The rest is truly up to you and your ability to seize opportunities when they come. Do grab a copy of the Girls Planet book from the nearest bookstore or online on Amazon, Barnes & Nobles, and BOL.com. Thank you to our sponsor, the National Revenue Authority, who without their support, we would never have been able to bring you such amazing conversations like this one. Remember that the development you hope to see in Sierra Leone requires that we all play our part by paying our taxes. Thank you for watching, but the engagement continues online and we'd love to hear your thoughts on the conversation by dropping your comments on our Facebook page, On the Spot with Stella, or on our YouTube page, On the Spot with Stella. Also, we have a special giveaway for that lucky person. So to know how, keep watching, keep talking, keep it on the spot. And you just may be a lucky person to win a copy of the Girls Planet. This is On the Spot, so when we come again next week, do stay fabulous.